But first, Democrats in Congress and their surrogates in the press spent all day muttering darkly about Russian conspiracies and demanding an independent investigation into whether Vladimir Putin secretly ran Donald Trump's presidential campaign. They howled and they barked and they did their best impressions of grave concern. But always at the center of it, that phrase, independent investigation. Now, there's a reason you kept hearing those words. Independent investigation is not a policy prescription. It's a talking point. It was formulated by strategists, disseminated by operatives, and faithfully repeated on television by hacks who have precisely zero interest in independence or in investigations, except when they're politically convenient. The whole idea is a sham, partisanship posing as patriotism. But let's take it seriously for a second anyway, just for fun. Democrats say they want to make certain that any Russia investigation remains above politics. Now, would allowing sitting members of Congress to appoint an investigator make the process more or less political? Come on, dumb question. And by the way, who would investigate it? Can you think of a single person who would be acceptable to both sides in Washington? In this political environment, no way. God himself would get hit with attack ads if he took that job. A so-called independent investigation wouldn't restore public trust in government any more than the Warren Commission settled public doubts about the Kennedy assassination. It's absurd. But happily, we don't need another investigation. We already have one. It's being run by the FBI, which, despite Jim Comey's well-deserved firing, still exists and is still considered the most professional investigative body in the world, maybe more so now that Comey has gone. Unless you think the entire FBI has been corrupted by Donald Trump during his 4 months in office, and if you think that, please seek professional help or switch to MSNBC, they are the team for the job. There is no other. Well, that would be obvious if the point of the exercise were to discover the truth, but it's not the point of the exercise, and it never has been the point. This is a political operation. Don't let him tell you otherwise. Now, speaking of investigations, thanks to Director Comey, last year the FBI ended a massive investigation of Hillary Clinton's email server without charging a single person. Now, Fox Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge has some information about how that failure to prosecute went down inside the FBI. Catherine? Well,
thank you, Tucker. Contact called me tonight and pointed out that last summer, the FBI Director James Comey testified on Capitol Hill that the decision not to pursue criminal charges against Hillary Clinton and her team for mishandling classified information was unanimous among the FBI agents on the case. But the acting FBI director today seemed to testify to something slightly different, saying morale took a huge hit.
There were folks within our agency who were frustrated with the outcome of the Hillary Clinton case, and some of those folks were very vocal about those concerns.
His critics say Andrew McCabe is partisan because his wife took $700,000 for a 2015 state Senate race in Virginia from Democrats, including a longtime Clinton aide, the Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe. And a former FBI agent told Fox News that new leadership at the top of the Bureau could mean a new review of the Clinton case with a fresh set of eyes. Tucker.
So, Catherine, is it possible that the FBI could reopen this investigation into Hillary Clinton's email?
I don't get too far over the tip of our skis, but definitely if there's a new director, he can take a fresh look at the evidence and the decision-making. Because remember, FBI Director Comey was criticized for going outside of his investigative lane and putting on his prosecutor's hat and making that recommendation against criminal charges.
Interesting. Catherine, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, you remember last summer, former FBI Director Comey spoke about Secretary Clinton's mishandling of classified information.
Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information. Any reasonable person in Secretary Clinton's position or in the position of those with whom she was corresponding about those matters should have known that an unclassified system was no place for that conversation.
All of this, of course, was quickly forgotten by most people once the election ended, but last year there was a tremendous amount of enthusiasm among some for taking action. You'll remember this. Does Hillary Clinton still face potential legal jeopardy from the Department of Justice? Tom Fitton is the president of Judicial Watch, a legal watchdog organization, and he joins us tonight. Tom, simple question. Do you think it is possible that this case could be reopened under a new FBI director?
Well, I think it needs to be reevaluated not only under a new FBI director, but under the new leadership at the Justice Department. The Comey misdirected the investigation by suggesting that they needed to prove intent when, in fact, as he pointed out, common sense tells you that they mishandled it and they should have known what they were doing was wrong, which is enough for a prosecution. It's gross negligence under the law. And secondly, the Justice Department, according to Mr. Comey himself, he thought they were compromised so much so that he needed to play Attorney General in announcing whether or not she should be prosecuted or not. And so now the Justice Department is in a position to take a look-see at this. But you have to remember there are other investigations. The investigation into the mishandling classified material has been shut down. But remember, there's a pending request from Congress to investigate whether Mrs. Clinton was truthful to Congress. Right. And then reportedly there was still this investigation going on related to her foundation and the pay-for-play allegations. So not only should they reinvigorate those investigations, if indeed they're still out there, but they really need to reevaluate what's going on with the classified mishandling of material, mishandling classified material, and really her taking records illicitly, destroying them, all sorts of crimes related to that. We can't trust that last investigation to have gotten to the bottom of it.
Well, and here's the key reason why, as far as I'm concerned. Hillary Clinton apparently was never questioned under oath by the FBI, and I've never understood that. James Comey, of course, led the prosecution, I believe, or the prosecution of Martha Stewart, who wound up going to jail for lying to a federal agent. Someone who'd been through that doesn't put the person he's questioning under oath. What would be the rationale for that?
Well, I guess the rationale is you're not allowed to lie to federal investigators whether you're under oath or not, but putting them under oath puts them on notice that this is a serious investigation. And by taking this lackadaisical approach where you're granting immunity to all of her associates, I think there's still an open question as to whether she was granted some form of immunity in order to be questioned. And then, of course, you've got the whole process infected by that terrible meeting between Bill Clinton and Attorney General Lynch less than a week before the interview of Mrs. Clinton, and less than a week, about a week before Comey said that there's going to be no prosecution, or he would recommend no prosecution. This is why we need some honest folks, separate and independent. If you need an independent counsel, so be it, to take another look-see over all of this, so that the American people could be reassured that at least someone separate and apart from Obama partisans and a politicized FBI director has honestly and thoroughly reviewed the evidence and has decided whether or not they need to proceed either with a further investigation or they can rely on the prior decisions and just keep it shut down.
Would you be worried tonight if you were Secretary Clinton?
Oh, I still think she faces legal jeopardy. I mean, if the system's working, she still faces legal jeopardy. The Justice Department under President Obama protected her. The FBI director repeatedly misstated the law in suggesting they needed intent. They had plenty of intent. You know, let me tell you how bad the FBI investigation was. They were using Freedom of Information documents uncovered by Judicial Watch to question the witnesses. The witnesses didn't start getting questioned until we started talking about questioning these witnesses. It was something they didn't want to do. The Justice Department never wanted to have a serious investigation. And so we just need some honest prosecutors and investigators. And I believe the FBI rank and file will be happy to do a serious investigation, to be happy even if there's no prosecution, as long as there's a fair analysis in the end.
Right, because the appearance that powerful people skate discredits the entire system. Of course it does. Tom, thanks for coming on.
You're welcome. Thank you, Tucker.